Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Robinson. I'm here with Coach Derek Stank from Bedford High School. The last year, 2016 Division I State Boys Championship title came through Bedford. Coach Stank, welcome to another season.
Thank you. Yeah, we're glad to be here. Season just got started a couple weeks ago for the official, but for us, we feel like we've been rolling for about 6-7 months now. So
awesome. Give us a little background. Where are you from, Coach?
From right outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, a town called Edders. I played football at Redland High School, and I was obviously recruited to come up here and play some football for the University of New Hampshire, and at which point in time I never left.
And that's great. We're glad you didn't leave. In high school, were you a defensive guy, or did you play both sides of the ball?
I played both sides of the ball. Yep. I was defensive end is where I kind of found my niche, and that's what I ended up getting recruited for. But I also played on the offensive line, tight end for the first 2 years, and then due to priorities, moved into guard and tackle.
Yeah. And at UNH, you were a DN for, did you play there for all 4 years?
Yeah, I was there for 5 years, redshirted my freshman year, and then played for the next 4 years after that. Yeah. I started off at DN for the first 2, and then moved to defensive tackle as the size got bigger. We were a very speed-based defense, so we wanted to have guys that definitely could move. Yeah.
Awesome. Last year, you had 61 players, 22 seniors, so you had some shoes to fill. But last year, 10-0, capped with a great win over Exeter High School at your alumni, UNH, by the way, 7-0, a defensive gem. You held Exeter to 152 total yards with 10 yards passing, 2 interceptions. First time Exeter has been shut out since 2009. I did a little research. When the clock ticked down and the final whistle blew, what were your thoughts about that season, that team, that game?
Well, when I took over 3 years ago, I've been here for 10 years now. Most of those time underneath Coach Hines, 1 year underneath Jim O'Keefe. We've had a good team, and we've done everything but one thing, and that was finish. We've never been able to finish the season the way we wanted to, including this last season that Hines was here. We were 11-0 going into the state title. So when I took over that following year, on the back of our T-shirts, I put one word on the back, guys, and it was finish. And that was our goal, is to finish what we have started, because we've been a good team. We've had opportunities. We just haven't been able to close the deal. So when that final second ticked out and we finally finished the games that we've been playing, the state championship games that we've been in before, it was a sigh of relief. It was an emotional joy. It was 10 years of hard work coming to a final culmination where we were able to finish something that we started a long time ago.
I remember when we winded down that game, my comment was the first year you didn't win a game, and this year you didn't lose a game, and you won the championship. That must have felt awesome.
It's gone a long way. We got the game ball sitting right up there against Milford, where we won by 6. That was the first win, and we got the one back here for the state championship.
Nice,
so, yeah.
Nice. We'll get a shot of that before we wrap this thing up. So total number of kids, the numbers are down this year. You had 61 last year. What are the numbers this year? Tell me who you got.
We have 56 upperclassmen, that's sophomore through senior, and then we're looking at 20 freshmen. So they are low numbers as far as the quantity, but the quality of those 56, they're very good football players. And the 20 coming in for freshmen, a lot of them are raw, but there's some good talent on that squad. So it's definitely been a transition from where we used to be with 130 some players on the team, even breaching 140 1 year, 50 freshmen coming in at a time, to now having 25 freshmen coming in and, a total of 50 to 60 upperclassmen. But, there's goods and bads to everything. So, we're not finding it to be a hindrance. If anything, it makes our practices a little bit more efficient, a little bit easier to manage. Sure. And we're able to focus in on the stronger skill sets that we do have from our different athletes.
Yeah. What do you think the low numbers are from? I mean, a lot of people talk about concussions, the parents aren't letting their kids play. We know that the 2 youth football programs combined into one program this year, I believe, the Jaguars and Junior Bulldogs. Do you still see that feeder program sending you 20 kids a year at least coming through?
Well, I think that them being together as one program actually could help increase the chance of uniting, Bedford football and having a stronger, richer future. And obviously their merge has just occurred. So there's still a lot of, the trickle effect has yet to occur or anything is affected because of that merge. But as far as across the state, there's a lot of programs that are down. Yeah, I know Exeter and other programs, they still have lots of numbers and everything. But at the end of the day, I think, there's fear of injury, the concussions, and then other injuries. are definitely they're going to play a role in parents letting their kids come out for football. I think specializing in sports is becoming more and more of a thing up here in New Hampshire. I know it's maybe been a little bit more prominent down south and maybe some of the larger states, but even up here now. And I know the increase in lacrosse players. I mean, there's a lot of factors for why people aren't coming out. But at the end of the day, you know, I also run a very tight ship here. You know, if kids aren't ready to commit all year long, 3 days a week in the weight room, and if they're playing another sport, then that's great. But if they're not, they're expected to be here training, and we have a lot of summer stuff that we do. So, you know, I think we might have lost a few numbers just from the expectations of if you're not ready to commit, then, you know, you probably aren't going to be on the team.
When you talk about commitment, you know, some of the great programs in the city and the state, Central comes to mind. For years, they were the top dog, and they had weightlifting programs. The kids were starting right after the season ended and had that off-season program. How significant is that? You say that's significant for the kids to be committed. How big is that?
It's huge. It's without a doubt huge. And yes, the strength, the size, those are paramount to be successful in the game of football. You know, building the speed and the power and all of those other assets, the agility, that's huge. But at the end of the day, you can't come together in August and expect to be so united and be able to fight through the things you have to fight through as a football team and just prepare in a couple of weeks. It doesn't happen. So for me, the actual time in the off season, the time over the spring, the time over the summer, all the summer trainings, all the camps we go to, the 7-on-7 leagues we're in, this is us developing a team. This is us developing a familyhood, a brotherhood, a bonding, you know, where that's what's allowing us to be successful in those times when you can't do it by yourself. You got to rely on your brothers. And we've fought for the last 7 months to get to this point to hopefully now be able to put that all into the field.
Big thing today is concussions. Proper tackling techniques weren't taught years ago. You're teaching that now. How significant is the proper tackling techniques taught at Bedford High School?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, we're in a sport that if we're not careful, it's going to die. Its future is in jeopardy. So we as coaches need to evolve. Things that you used to think were okay for you are no longer okay for you. I mean, that happens with medicine. It happens with nutrition. It happens with everything. So with football, we need to evolve also. One of the studies that we've been involved in here at Bedford is the HUT study through UNH, helmetless tackling study. And for 2 years, we had kids wear headbands and sensors where half of the kids did the tackling without helmets and the other half did not, and they tracked the data. And this is our 3rd year now, so we're out of the study. But one of the things we've done is we have taken all of those tools and the trades that we've learned through that HUT tackling, very similar to the Seahawk, Pete Carroll tackling, the Hawk tackling, and now we're teaching that. So every bit of our tackling that we do at practice has no shoulder pads and no helmets on. So the only tackling practice we do is without helmets. And if you teach kids to tackle without helmets, well, they're going to keep their head out of the work. And ultimately, when they go to tackle with helmets on, they're probably going to do that same thing and keep their head out of the work. So the emphasis really is you have to remove the head from the contact of the work. There's still going to be pulling guards. There's still going to be blocking. There's still going to be contact that's occurring. Those things cannot be eliminated completely. But we need to be smart and educated and say, how can we take a large part of where this head contact is coming in, the tackling, and remove it? So that's what we're trying to do here.
Awesome. Awesome, Coach. Sounds great. Let's get right into this year's team. So we're going to start. So last year on the offense, you had 12 guys with significant playing time on the offensive side of the ball. You had 7 graduating seniors. Let's start right at the top. Connor Robert, senior, 3-year starter. What makes this kid so special?
Well, Connor is a very talented individual. From his freshman year on, we knew that we had an athlete. We had a guy that could throw the ball and that could run the ball. And as a spread offense, you need to have a guy that can do both of those things. He's also a guy that knows the game. He's a student of the game, and he understands what's expected of him. And when you have that, you can start to give him a little bit more freedom, a little bit more liberty to adjust things accordingly, whether he sees an opening and he can make a check out of something into something different. So, you know, he's a strong kid, too. He's a very physically fit individual. At 200 pounds, you know, I mean, he repped 225 pounds on the bench for 9 repetitions in a row and 315 for 7 on the squat. So he's got the assets needed to be successful. And he also has a good drive. You know, this is a kid that wants to play at the next level and most likely will and have some good success doing so because of those things that he has put in.
Who do you have as his backup?
We have a handful of quarterbacks right now that are floating on that backup line. You know, Owen Brown is a guy that used to be a quarterback for us. He turned into a great linebacker last year, started as an outside linebacker, so that's where his priorities lie. And he is a guy that will hopefully only ever play defense, but at 165 pounds, one of the fastest kids on the team, a great athlete, a great runner. He's definitely a guy that will be ready to go if we need him. From there, we have Thomas Morgan and Nate Frederick, who are also very talented. Thomas Morgan is a small, shifty style quarterback, and he's a slot receiver for us right now, really competing for a starting spot, but also takes many reps at the quarterback position. Much like what we did with Sharuk Hussein last year, where Sharuk was slated as the second string quarterback, but you never had to see him because Connor was always there. And Nate Frederick is our quarterback from last year, who's grown exponentially over the year from, you know, probably 5'6" to almost 6 foot and 100 pounds to 135. So this is a kid that's coming along very well. He's a student of the game, one of the smarter football players we have on the team, knowing exactly what to do in every situation. So, you know, he's an up and coming sophomore this year, looking to be a solid JV quarterback for us and hopefully in future years.
Nice. Running back, last year you had 2 seniors, 2 studs. I loved watching these guys play, Nick Leahy and Sean Tierney. Who's stepping up to replace them this year?
You know, another thing where, you know, we lost good football players, but we have 3 guys that have filled those shoes, and there's not that much of a drop-off for them. They're very talented. They're size-wise. They're 200 to 210 pounds apiece. They're all roughly 6 foot tall, you know, 5'10" to 6 foot. We've got Ryan Toscano. He's a junior, and he's a great running back for us. He's also our starting free safety on the defensive side. We have Dimitri Aganost, who is also another very physical 200-pound running back for us. Very talented, very aggressive, knows how to run the ball. Great running back at JV last year. And then Thomas Norfleet. Thomas Norfleet is a senior captain for us. He's one of the strongest kids we have on the team. Did our power clean max, and he's coming through at 225 for 10 reps, 250 for 10 reps. So, I mean, anyone that can power clean 250 for 10 reps in a row, it's a pretty spectacular feat. So he's a very strong, talented 200-pound running back. So we really have 3 starting running backs this year, and I see all of them getting multiple reps as they rotate through the offensive series.
Last year, the receiving core, real talented. I mean, these are the guys that, you know, really helped you guys propel through the season, through the playoffs. You had Sharuk Hussein, Liam Green, Colby Smith, and the returning guys, Noah Chadrick, who caught that lone touchdown for you guys in the championship game. Who were filling the shoes of Hussein, Smith, and Green?
Well, you know, when you say fill shoes, you know, yeah, I got to put a guy in his spot. You know, some of these guys, they're going to be tough to replace. Green was a very large, very physical player. Sharuk Hussein, probably the best hands to ever come through Bedford High School. He just caught the football, and he was very smart. He wasn't going to blow you away with maybe his speed or his size. He was 150 pounds soaking wet, but he did things that just the average football player couldn't do. So to replace a guy, to truly replace a Sharuk Hussein is going to be a tough thing to do. But we have guys that are ready to step up. Harry Lagon, who is a great tight end, kind of a wing guy for us, motion him into the backfield. He's ready to go at a slot position. We have Cole Glennon, another 6'3", very fast, track style speed wide receiver that's going to step out to replace Liam Green. Right? We've got Lucian Mumpini. Lucian Mumpini has stepped up as a very physical, a very fast, very explosive player for us. He just took over the triple jump and long jump record this last year in the spring season as a sophomore. So he's coming back as a junior, and he's going to be a very dangerous threat for us, hopefully. And then we've got other guys like Connor Crowley that are knocking on the door and trying to take one of those spots.
That's awesome. When I saw Harry last year play, he reminded me a lot of like a Gronk. Big kid.
He's 230 pounds right now, can squat 405.
Yeah.
He's a very physical, big, strong, athletic kid. He's a basketball player. He knows how to move his body.
Yeah, and he's a junior.
Yep.
Which is great. So you got him for 2 years. That's awesome. So let's go to the D side, which is your college years. Last year, you had 15 guys with significant playing time. The 10 were seniors, including Miles Strickler, Kyle Egerquist, Kyle Jalbert, Connor Collins, Nick Canoni, Brian Tebow or Thibodeau, did I pronounce that right?
Tebow, yep.
Jacob Gregson, Caleb McDonald, Sharik Hussein. Our returning guys, Owen Brown, we mentioned Collins, Mupini, and Christian Bourgeois.
And Spencer Adams.
On the D side, who's stepping up for on the line?
So obviously we have a few more holes to fill on that defensive side. Our offensive line, we have pretty much 3/4 returners coming back. But from a defensive side, yeah, we got some holes with Kyle Jalbert, all right, Brian Tebow, Jake Gregson, Caleb McDonald. I mean, that's our whole line. So our defensive end is Christian Bourgeois right now. He's the one that had the most playing experience from last year. He's going to be a junior this year. He's a good-sized athlete. He's very fast and physical. Andrew Twite's looking to be another defensive end on the outside. Jacoby Collins also on the outside. And Jack O'Donnell, another guy that's stepping up from a defensive standpoint for us, a senior this year.
How about on the linebacker side?
Well, linebacker side, we have Spencer Adams is coming back and Owen Brown, and they're going to hold strong to be a big part of our defense. And from there, you know, we've got Harry Lagon, who's going to be playing inside. We've got Thomas Norfleet, who's going to be looking to play outside. Dimitri Aganos, another guy that can play inside. So, I mean, and like I said, these are all of our running backs that are very strong, very fast, very physical. You know, they're going to start defensively, and then they're going to rotate on that offensive reps. So.
And on the D-backs and safety, who do you got?
Well, that's a big hole for us. You know, that's definitely an area that we need to be aware of, and we're working real hard to replace, not to necessarily get the same thing we had last year. We had Connor Collins, a 2-year starter, Sharik Hussein, who was a very talented athlete, and Miles Strickler, who honestly stepped up his senior year and became a great football player for us. But we have some athletes back there. So we have Lucian Mumpini, we talked about as a slot, very talented, very gifted as a skill set. So he'll be back there as a defensive back. We've got Ryan Toscano, who's going to be looking to play as our free safety, a 210-pound athlete, you know, running back, all-state lacrosse player, and he's going to be our free safety. And our other kind of position right now, our corners up in the open. We've got a handful of seniors that are competing for it, from Tyler Barnard to DJ Hawkins. Both of them seniors, work their way through the JV program looking for that. And we've got some young guys like Guerin. We have Zachary Guerin, Arnold Guerin's son, who is, you know, a very talented athlete. He's unfortunately suffered a slight knee injury over the off season, so he's on his recovery road for that. He's slated to be back within the next couple weeks, but you know, I mean, he's 6'2", 190 pounds, so a big size defensive back that's very fast and athletic.
Yeah. Special teams. You've got Connor Crowley as punter. He's coming back.
Yep.
Who's his backup?
So we've got a couple backups. I think, you know, Joe Aiello has been taking on more of a kicking role in all facets, so he's doing pretty well with the punts. We also have Chris Francis, not a standard punter. He's one of our defensive tackles, the strongest guy on the team. He's 6'3", 290-pound defensive tackle, but he's been punting for us on and off throughout the years as we needed him, and he can put a load into that football.
He can put his foot into that, can he? Yeah. On the kicking side, kickoff, extra points, you're talking Joe Aiello. He's coming back. He's going to do that.
Connor Crowley is our other individual.
Okay.
Connor Crowley is actually the individual that came into the game, the Merrimack game, and kicked those final extra points that we needed to secure a tie to then go into overtime. So, you know, Connor Crowley is a good kicker on both sides, whether it's punting or kickoffs or PAT. So we have him there with Joyella. And then we also have Madison Lucantoni, who's going to be a great kicker for us, most likely at that JV level.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Madison, the only girl, the only female on the team, or have any others stepped up?
No, we only have one female, and that's Madison Lucantoni on the team, but we do have a female that played multiple years ago, probably about 5-6 years ago now, Rachel Allen. And she was actually a running back and a free safety, one of our top tacklers for the JV team that year when she was a JV player.
That's great. Good to see that. I love that. Talk about the schedule this year. And when I look at the schedule this year, I always look at Pinkerton. You know, they've set the standard for years. Last year, they had a down year. Do you expect them to have another down year this year, or any information on who the other guys are going to be facing?
You know, Pinkerton, you know, they're always going to be Pinkerton. They're a good football team. They have a well-established program. You know, there's always going to be waves of guys that come in and guys come out and things that might affect the season. But I have no doubt that O'Reilly's going to do another great job getting his team ready to go. and they're going to have a good football team again.
Any other programs? I know Exeter was in the paper a few weeks ago, pumping their chest that they got some guys coming back. You expect them
once again, another team that their history speaks for them. They just know how to do it over and over. Even if they don't get to the end, they know how to do it. They've established themselves, and they have the guys, they have the coaches, they have the staff, they have the support systems in order to redo it again and again and again. So I have no doubt that they'll have another successful season.
Yeah, and you'll have the bullseye on your back because you're the returning champ, undefeated. People are going to try and take a shot at you. What do you say to the players when they come in each day, each game?
Well, at the end of the day, I let them know that this is not a state championship team. That was last year's team.
Yep.
And you can rattle off all the players you just talked about, but at the end of the day, our state championship team was over at the end of that state championship game. And now this is a whole nother team with a whole nother group of guys, all right, and we've got to go back to work to win one game at a time in order to get to where we need to get to.
And I know your favorite game was the last one because it brought you to the championship, but the one before that, Merrimack, was the one that everybody had their hearts in their throat at the end of that game, how that ended. And how you turned it around in the second half. It was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah, that one might have taken a few years off a couple of people's lives. And it was definitely a game to be remembered and a fan favorite. And, at the end of the day, Merrimack was a phenomenal team last year. They did an excellent job all year long. And both times we played them, we had everything we could handle in front of us and some. So, hats off to them for everything that they were able to accomplish. And our guys, they were able to respond. And I attribute that to everything that we put in, where it's not a 3-month season. This is a year-long brotherhood where these guys, they learn to fight with each other. They learn to compete. They learn to deal with these situations where it's going to be a sudden change. There's going to be problems. Things are going to hit the fan. And we were able to respond. Luckily, our coaching, the players' ability to respond, and everything fell into pieces the way it needed to.
Yeah, it's a good thing you were at home for that Merrimack game because I know the home crowd came alive and was just it was phenomenal how that ended. But anyways, Coach Stank, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Hey, absolutely.
We hope to get you again, maybe mid-season, give a mid-season breakdown, and then maybe towards the end of the playoffs. But we appreciate your time with Coach Derek Stank, head boys football coach, Division 2016 champion, Bedford High School. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.